in recent decades, in recent years, we've seen that Iran has sometimes acted in a way that I would suggest it aligns with Western interests. I mean, the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq, in part, Iran acted in a way to serve, maybe serve is a harsh word, but serve American interests by splitting the opposition towards and its insurgency towards American occupation in Syria and across in Iraq and across the Middle East. If the aim of the Israelis is to carve up the Muslim world and to create these small statelets that are internally incoherent, then maybe the outcome of some of the civil wars that Iran has participated in, namely the Syrian civil war, has been to weaken these states. How much, in other words, has Iran really acted outside this international order, and how much has it acted sometimes in a very parochial way that has undermined the coherency, I suppose, of the Muslim world?
Well, look, Iran likes to, like all Muslim states, likes to talk about unity of the ummah, and we all have to come together. But at the end of the day, Iran is a country with an authoritarian political system ruled by a set of ruling elites who fundamentally are interested in what all political leaders are interested in the region, and that is regime survival. And they're pursuing the interests of the state as they define it as their fundamental moral and political objective. And so the way I would interpret your question in the context of Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq, it would be in the following way. Let's just take one example that your viewers will find more compelling and accessible. Take the whole rise of ISIS. So when ISIS sort of rises and takes over large parts of Iraq and then Syria before that, and they're on the gates of Baghdad in 2014, Iran works very closely with the Iraqi government to organize these popular mobilization forces, the Hashd-e-Sha'biyya, to fight back against ISIS. And it was done by effectively, working with these militias and the Iraqi government, but critically with American military air power to defeat ISIS. There was a convergence of interests, in other words, between Iran and the United States in trying to defeat the so-called Islamic State. Because Iran was calculating that, look, this organization was a huge threat to its interests in the region. And so there were moments where that convergence of interest propelled the United States and Iran to work effectively on the same side to fight a common enemy. The same in Afghanistan with the Taliban, and the same in Syria. I think Iran has been guilty of a lot of, I think, the Islamic Republic, a lot of crimes in terms of its regional foreign policy. But the greatest one, in my view, is what they did in Syria, effectively backing one of the most monstrous regimes that the Muslim world has seen in its modern history, simply because its geostrategic understanding of the region necessitated it to support that regime, knowing that if that regime fell, its access to its primary ally in the region, Hezbollah in Lebanon, would be broken. And so Iran organized, basically a pan-Islamic Shia militia movement to try and sustain that regime in alliance with, an odious global power in the figure of Vladimir Putin, together. And they effectively turned the tide of that revolution that, began in the context of the Arab Spring in the direction of Bashar al-Assad and kept the regime alive. So, I don't think we need to look at the Islamic Republic of Iran through rose-colored glasses and think that because it's at war with the United States, Israel, and its allies in the region, everything that it does is noble and righteous. I think that would be the wrong way of understanding this country and its foreign policy. So it is still, I would argue, an independent actor. And sometimes being an independent actor, requires it to pursue policies that converge and overlap with the interests of foreign powers, and unintentionally benefit, the view of Israeli political leaders that would like to see the Muslim world broken up, fighting amongst themselves, unable to organize a coherent and organized sort of coalition of states that could challenge Israel's hegemony in the region. None of that undermines, I would argue, my core thesis that Iran is an independent actor. And let me be clear what I mean by that. It's an independent actor in contrast to the Arab dictatorships that surround it, that coordinate their foreign and domestic policies with the United States of America. Iran doesn't do that. It did do that up until 1979, but after that, it moved in a different direction. And that different direction, unfortunately, has resulted in pursuing these policies where it does a lot of unsavory things. And perhaps, as I said a moment ago, perhaps the worst of Iran's crimes that it has committed in its 47-year history in terms of its regional foreign policy has been in the context of what happened in Syria. 500,000 people were killed. And if you talk to Syrians, they're the first ones to tell you that Iran's role was catastrophic. People who defend Iranian foreign policy are going to have to own that track record of Iran's regional intervention.